evening. Welcome to Elk Grove Unified School District Board of Education meeting today. I want to call the meeting to order. The board met in closed session, and the following administrators were appointed. Lynn Gavarak, principal at Mayola Beitzel Elementary School, and Martin Fine, director of Pre-K 6 Education. I want to let you know the meeting. Today's meeting is being video recorded and will be available at the district's YouTube channel. Blue cards are available outside on the table to my right here. Anyone wishes to address the board. If you wish to address the board, complete the card and hand it to the staff member to my right over here and indicate whether the matter you wish is on the agenda or not on the agenda. Tonight we have the Pledge of Allegiance from Monterey Trail High School. I want to call on Evelyn White. Is she here? And Mr. Farreras, you can come up, Vice Principal at Monterey Trail High School. And Dr. Crystal Martinez-Leary will do the honors. Come on up.
Oh.
It sounds like a plane up there.
Okay. Monterey Trail High School is honored to recognize Mrs. Evelyn White as our education partner. The Elk Grove Unified School District recognizes that extracurricular activities help shape individuals and communities in memorable, positive ways. The athletic program success at Monterey Trail High School is based on commitment by student athletes, parents, coaches, and the school. Mrs. White dedicates herself to hard work and also helps to improve and support the Monterey Trail football program and student athletes, and has been known to dedicate countless volunteer hours to her children's schools in EGUSD. Miss Evelyn White is a parent to 2 students at Monterey Trail High School. Bria is a senior, and Andre is a sophomore and a member of the junior varsity football team. Mrs. White has supported and volunteered in fundraising, making game day meals, and works every Wednesday to prepare dinner for the entire football program. In addition, you can find her volunteering in the concession stand at every football game. Mrs. White has been a huge asset to Monterey Trail. The staff, athletic department, students, and community of Monterey Trail High School would like to say thank you to Mrs. Evelyn White for her endless and countless hours of volunteerism. We immensely appreciate all you do year-round to continuously support Monterey Trail High School football and our school and our community. So thank you.
Would you like to say anything? You feel free afterwards.
No, sir. I'm shy. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Hold on. Well, I guess we'll call. And then we have one public comment. Okay. Well, before we pass it, we'll let her talk and then come up here first. Yeah. Thank you. Let's give another round of applause. Okay, we have the high school representatives report this afternoon, and we'll call on Valley High School.
Good evening, Board President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. It is an honor to be here today to represent Valley High School. I am Brittany Ng, a senior.
And I'm Reggie Lee, a junior. To start off, we'd like to recognize our previous Valley High representative, Kazima Rashid, who is currently enjoying her time at UC Merced.
She may be a Bobcat now, but she'll always be a Viking at heart. Isn't that right, Mr. Hoffman?
The Viking class of 2019 endured to the very end, fighting to contain senioritis.
Although it's only been a few weeks, I already feel it creeping up, but don't worry, I have it under control.
Sure you do. Oh, and not to brag, but the class of 2019 seniors collectively earned over $1.3 million in financial aid and scholarships. We're so proud of them. We also like to give a huge shout out to our great Viking scholars, Brian Ramos, Dante Emanuel for being able to attend California Boys State, and Michaela Saturn for attending California Girls State programs over the summer. They proudly represented Valley High, and they continue to be great leaders on campus. Speaking of great leaders on campus, our counselors and administrators and teachers, along with our parents, are working towards our school's self-study to being accredited to the Western Association of Schools and Colleges. This year, we will be working very Viking strong to ensure that we all have all the programs and support that we need to be successful in college and career.
ASB has been planning our great events like Block V, where we will be celebrating students who earned a 3.5 GPA or higher from last semester. And let's not forget the Strong Start Lunch, where teachers can pick a student who started the year off with a strong start and exemplify the qualities of what it means to be Viking strong. Scholarly, trustworthy, respectful, open-minded, noble, and generous, according to our new slogan that the teachers and students last year came up with, to enjoy a fresh barbecue during lunch. ASB also hosted the freshman orientation and barbecue, where we gave tours of the campus and helped the new scholars find all of their classes before the year started. This year, over 300 students and their families came out to visit the campus. Our Viking staff has experienced some changes over the past summer. At the end of last year, 5 of our Viking teachers sailed to other coasts. And due to an increase of student enrollment where we acquired an additional 3 new teachers to the campus, making that a total of 8 new teachers for the school year. They were given a warm welcome beside our freshmen at the back-to-school rally.
Our Viking class of 2020 seniors started off the year strong, aside from some early victims of senioritis. Over the last 4 years, the seniors have become one big family, and they are ready to take on the year ahead. They began the year with senior sunrise, where they munched on donuts while watching the sunrise in their pajamas. The seniors are currently prepping for the most stressful time of the year, better known as college app and financial aid season.
Dun, dun, dun.
Fortunately, Valley High teachers and counselors have their back and have been guiding them along the way. Valley hosted our annual financial aid night on September 25th, and on October 16th, Valley will be having our college and career fair, where our scholars will have the opportunity to talk to college representatives and local businesses from all over California. This event will help them learn about possible careers and to help compile a list of universities they would like to apply to. Valley will also have a hashtag I Can Help speaker to help students be more responsible with their social media, while the other 70% of our scholars will be taking the SAT and PSATs.
2 weeks ago, our club rush took place. About 15 clubs have set up tables to show off their club for anybody to join. Popular clubs like Key Club, Robotics Club, and Black Student Union continue to grow as the freshmen sign up. Our fall sports kicked off with a bang as they showed off at our all-pink homecoming rally today, where we went all pink and showed our Viking spirit. The student body cheered as they watched their favorite sports teams battle it out over some friendly competition. Speaking of competition, the classes also got to show off their floats for homecoming, which is this Saturday on October 5th, themed 4 Seasons. I think my class's float was the best.
On the topic of fall sports, varsity football is starting to build up steam and work as a team. They are currently 1-4 with a good win over McClatchy. The JV team hasn't won yet, but is looking for a win this Friday, as both teams take on Florence High School for the homecoming game, as well as the annual Highway 99 game, where Valley has taken home trophy 12 times out of 26 years. JV starts at 5 and varsity starts at 7:15. We invite you all to come join us at Cosumnes River College. Women's volleyball has just begun their season, with the JV team kicking off with a fabulous win in their league, and as for the varsity team, they are starting off slow, but are looking for an opportunity this Thursday against Cordova. The varsity girls golf team took second at the all-league center meet and are playing really well. The varsity girls team is heading into league with a 1-1 record, losing 4-5 against Florin, but then battling back to beat West Campus 5-4 the following match. It's going to be a fight to the finish this year for the league title.
The men's cross-country team ran well at their first league meet and are currently 4th place overall. Top runners like Arlequin Ponce and Euro Zabala are leading the team. The girls' cross-country team has been low in numbers due to injury in soccer tournaments, but the top 3 runners, sophomore Michelle Vargas placed 16th, senior Larissa Ala placed 6th, and sophomore Ashley Dominguez Tostado placed 2nd in the league overall. Varsity and JV cheer continues to be amazing from our sidelines, keeping the crowd engaged. The season has just begun, and they will soon show just how Viking strong we are here in the Valley. When we return next year on February 18th, we will have lots to catch up on, like our annual Day of the Dead celebration on November 1st and Mini Hmong Night on November 15th and more. We will be looking forward to sharing them with you, and we also invite you to come out and experience them yourselves along with us. Thank you. Viking strong. And then we also have some gifts for you guys.
Thank you. Okay, well, I'd like to have Elk Grove High School come on up.
Good evening, Board President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. My name is Alex Taniguchi,
And I'm Gracie Blum-Craig.
and we're thrilled to inform you on Elk Grove's amazing start to the 2019-2020 school year. On July 9th to the 12th, our seniors joined together to help paint our senior steps and mural, which follows the class theme of Space Jam. These pieces of artwork were created by the teamwork of our seniors. Our senior steps and mural are greatly admired by staff, students, and visitors of Elk Grove. As summer came to an end, our Link Crew leaders came together, consisting of juniors and seniors, to help build a positive and safe place in preparation for the 2023 freshman class orientation. On July 31st and August 1st, our Link Crew team welcomed the incoming freshmen into the Thundering Herd family by playing icebreakers and giving them a tour of our school. To wrap up orientation, our Link Crew hosted our annual dance for all Link leaders and their freshmen, which was a night filled with memorable laughs, smiles, and who can forget the incredible dance moves. Leading up to the first day of school, we held our annual Herd Roundup Day, where all classes are encouraged to come to get their ID pictures taken and pick up their schedules and lockers. August 15th was a big day, the first day back. Our Link Crew leaders wore their shirts that day to help freshmen navigate through campus and find their classes. Meanwhile, the class of 2020 gathered in our football stadium at 5:30 in the morning for music, games, breakfast, and to watch the sunrise together, signifying the start of our last year of high school. To start the 2019-2020 school year off fun, we held our back-to-school rally on August 16th, where each class showed their school spirit through yelling chants and participating in games. We enjoyed talented performances from our Rhythmical Madness dance team, cheer, and band. To keep the fun going, our welcome back dance was held later that night in our quad, where all students had a great time dancing and eating Kona shaved ice. August 30th, our seniors came together once again for our senior barbecue held at Elk Grove Park. Here, our seniors enjoyed inflatables, lots and lots of food, intense spikeball competitions, tug-of-war, a pie eating contest, and who can forget our hilarious yet memorable lip sync competition. Senior barbecue was definitely one for the books, where we all bonded and made new memories that will last forever.
On September 5th, our counselors held an Empowering Families workshop in our library, where they focused on graduation requirements and college information, including applications and financial aid timelines. Our academic awards night was held on September 12th, where we recognized all students who had a 3.7 or above GPA from the last semester of the 2018-2019 school year. We had 460 students qualify for this prestigious award. Families and teachers came to support their students' academic achievement. Students received patches that correlated with the number of awards they earned over the years. Clubs and organizations are a great way for our students to feel a part of this school, so we had our annual Club Rush during lunch on September 4th. With over 30 clubs recruiting new members, Club Rush is a day where all of the clubs that we provide at our school publicize themselves in wishes that students will sign up for them. Our environmental club has gone above and beyond in our local community. On September 20th, they went to the state capitol in regards of the youth climate change strike. One member of the club, Selena Enriquez, passionately spoke upon this matter in front of 1,000 people. We are so proud of our environmental club striving to make a change in our community. Our annual blood drive was held on September 11th, where we collected 40 life-saving pints that will transform many lives. We thank all the students who gave blood that day. FFA Field Day was held on September 26th and 27th. 100 Elk Grove FFA students hosted over 1,200 third graders from around the district over a 2-day period at the farm to educate the students on ag commodities and the ag industry. Our fall homecoming is right around the corner. Our theme this year is all around the world, where freshmen float takes us to France, sophomores to Mexico, juniors to the US, and seniors to Italy. We start float building on October 7th and continue all the way to our annual parade on October 25th, where we showcase our floats to the Elk Grove community. Our homecoming rally is October 11th, where we will announce our senior homecoming royalty and enjoy performances from our Rhythmical Madness dance team, cheer, and a special performance from our staff. The next week will be our Homecoming Spirit Week, where we will dress up each day for a different theme. During this week, we will have an annual Powder Puff game where girls play flag football and boys are the cheerleaders. At the end of the week, we will have our homecoming football game against Consumnes Oaks High School. We will wrap up our homecoming season with our dance on October 26th.
Everyone's favorite time of the year is here, football season. To kick off the past 2 home games, we have hosted 2 tailgates, one for freshmen last Friday and another for seniors on August 23rd. We use events like these to help unify our classes and overall have a great time listening to music, eating good food, and getting our face painted to show off our school spirit. This year, we have named our student section the Stampede, where all of our students are invited to sit during the game and cheer on our football team. We want to congratulate our JV and varsity football teams for earning their first league win of the season, beating Davis. Our varsity team dominated Sheldon at last Friday's game, winning 55-0. Great job, boys. We also want to acknowledge and congratulate our 2018-2019 men's volleyball team for winning the NorCal Championship. Go Herd.
Board President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos, thank you so much for your time and consideration this evening. We hope that you will join us for our upcoming herd activities and events. We invite you to join us on October 25th at 1 p.m. for our homecoming parade that will begin at Elk Grove High School and end at Joseph Kerr Middle School. We look forward to our next report with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wonderful report. I want to acknowledge the principals at these fine high schools, Dr. Eugene Christmas at Elk Grove High School, principal, and Richard Gutierrez at Valley High School. Students, you may be excused if you'd like for your homework. Hey, we have Elk Grove Purchasing Warehouse Department recognition. I want to call on Mr. Pierce, and assisted by Ms. Bobby Singh Allen.
Perfect, please. Yes. Thank you, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, Ms. Avalos. We have some exciting news to share with the governing board tonight and members of the community. So exciting in that the Purchasing and Warehouse Department recently received the prestigious Achievement of Excellence in Procurement Award for 2019 from the National Procurement Institute. The AEP award is earned by public and non-profit organizations that meet certain criteria based on standardized purchasing and procurement practices. It's awarded annually to recognize innovation, professionalism, e-procurement, productivity, and leadership. To put this in perspective, I want to share that the Elk Grove Unified School District is only one of 45 governmental agencies in California and only one of 23 school districts in the United States and Canada to ever receive the award since it began 25 years ago. Elk Grove Unified School District is the only school district in California to receive this award in 2019, and only the second district in California since the history of the award that it's ever been received. So we're really excited about that. We have an outstanding purchasing and warehouse team, and being acknowledged with this accolade validates their diligence, their professionalism, and their hard work. I would like to introduce Johnny Terry, who's our Director of Purchasing and Warehouse. He has a couple members of his team tonight, but their hard work is constant. It's every day. Being in charge of a purchasing department and warehouse in a district of our size, millions and millions and millions of dollars of purchase requisitions, deliveries are brought in every day and dispersed to our school sites. So it's a great honor, and I want to thank Johnny and his team for all their hard work, and I'll introduce Johnny.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. I don't know I can follow that. Good evening, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman. Oh, there you are. Ms. Avalos. It is a great honor to be recognized by this great event, this recent award. Of course, I couldn't have done it without Mr. Pierce's leadership and continued support. But mostly, I couldn't have done it without my staff. And although I only brought two of them here, they spent a lot of hours putting this packet together. When we thought we were close and we couldn't do it, they did it, and they came through. And all those is true. Most of the support and effort they did and the success, I give it to my staff. So with that, I'll introduce Bobby Hugh, who's a purchasing supervisor, and Renee Roberts, who's the admin assistant 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Real fine recognition. Mhm. Thank you, congratulations, and real fine job. Recognition. Okay, we'll get to our resolutions. Native American Heritage Month. I'll call on Ms. Sue Larson.
Good evening, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. I'd like to start by asking members of our Native American community and our participants in our Native American education program to please stand, and Alicia and Josh to come on up here with me. Thank you. I didn't tell those guys I was going to ask them to come up, so they're going, what do we have to do? You don't have to do anything. Just throughout the year, the contributions of Native Americans are presented in the regular curriculum. However, this special focus for 1 month in November serves as a reminder of the combined contributions of this group. And tonight, I know you also got to see just a small example of some of the work that our Native American education program does. The staff and students put together the display out there. They'll be coming back at a later board meeting to share with you a song and some other ways to let you know how the kinds of things that we're doing in our education program. But tonight we are asking the Board of Education to please adopt Resolution 16, which designates November 2019 as Native American Heritage Month.
Okay, before we adopt that resolution, I want to call on Matt Franklin. Wanted to make a comment on this. That's his brother.
Good evening, Honorable Board and Superintendent. I just want to make a comment that the program has come a long ways from being in the backyard of Sierra Enterprise Elementary and Franklin Elementary back in the late 70s, and out of a garage, kind of makeshift back door. Yeah. But being a student, it always hasn't been easy being Native American. I remember in 4th grade, my first ever experience with the Board of Education was I came home to my mom and I was a little upset. And she goes, "What's wrong?" I said, the teacher pointed out to me to read this passage, and it said the half-naked savages beat the women and children and burned the village down. Then all the kids in my class laughed at me and made fun of me. And so she goes, I'm taking it to the Indian Ed Committee. From there, she took it to the Board of Education and got that curriculum removed. So it's been a long way. I just want to share with you the knowledge. Last Friday was California Indian Day. To see our superintendent from Elk Grove Unified School District amongst all the tribes celebrating what our ancestors sacrificed so we could be here. We're 1% of the population, but we contributed so much. Just this school, Consumne, in Miwok, Kasam is salmon. Umne is our real name. Ness is river. We have a really proud history that we contributed, that our people sacrificed and given up, and it's really good. I'm really proud to see our program, Alicia and Joshua, our parents back there, here standing, and it's a very proud moment for us. So I want to say thank you on our behalf because it's doing really, really well, and I'm very honored to be a part of this day. Thank you. Oh.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Very good. Okay, I want to call for adopt resolution number 16 that designates November 2019 as Native American Heritage Month.
So move.
Been moved and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I'd like to make a comment if I can too. I would just like to say I appreciate the work that Joshua is doing. I was able to attend the fall gathering last week, and there was some Native families and students here at the district office honoring that, and also being out at the state capitol for California Native Day. And I hope to continue to see the program flourish and continue to grow. And so I want to thank you and also the community for being out there and being in support of the program. The kids that are sitting out there, a lot of that, the work that we do is because of you. So, and your stories, and to try to help you be as successful as you can be. So know you have community here that helps support you. And I'm glad that Joshua is in that position to help with the rest of the students as well. So thank you.
Mr. Fortuna.
Thank you. Echoing some of Dr. Chris Martinez-Leary's words, I am so proud of this program. And Joshua, you've taken it to new levels, and it's obvious by the work that's been done. The Native American program is a program that I took on almost as soon as I was elected in terms of helping it move forward. And one of the things that is pleasing to me throughout the year with the activities that you hold, we have the student participation and the parent participation. And at both the fall and spring gatherings, the number of parents that come is so rewarding. The parents genuinely are concerned about their children's welfare, about their futures, and do what they can do to make a difference for their kids. So I just want to say I'm proud to be able to spend the time that I do with you, and am really proud of your parents. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Charis Espinoza.
I also want to thank you for your work. I also want to thank you for your work and that of all of the parents and other community members who help make this a reality for our students. But I want to add that I'm aware, and I think this board is aware, that our responsibility to you is broader than the Native American student program, that we are continuing to look at ways to improve the curriculum that all of our students are exposed to so that we may all have better understanding of the contributions and tribulations of all of the students that we serve here. So there's a group working on improving our ethnic studies curriculum. I was really happy to hear the governor's comments on the way we teach social studies and history as a whole in the state. It's a long time coming. So I just want you to know that you guys have allies beyond this program as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Very nice, good words, and good job too. Did we pass the resolution?
We did.
Okay.
We
Thank
did.
you.
Thank you again.
Okay, Sikh American Awareness and Appreciation. Oh, I'm sorry. Why don't you come back up? We can take some quick photos right quick. And the parents and children, come on up, the groups that are here. And Matt, we have to get you up here. Oh, okay. Okay, Gertrude Tender, okay. Yeah. That's, again, thank you so much. Good job. Okay, next we have the Sikh American Awareness and Appreciation Month. Danielle Black.
Good evening, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. I'm honored to present Resolution Number 17, the establishment of Sikh American Awareness and Appreciation Month. Whereas California and our nation are enriched by the unparalleled diversity of our residents, and whereas among this unprecedented diversity in California, there reside Americans of Sikh origin, whose population comprises nearly 40% of the nation's estimated Sikh population. And whereas Sikh immigrants have resided in California for more than a century, with the first Sikh immigrants having labored on railroad construction projects, in lumber mills, and in the agricultural heartlands of the Sacramento, San Joaquin, and Imperial Valleys. And whereas while Sikh Americans have distinguished themselves in numerous areas of endeavor, they have demonstrated particular success in the areas of agriculture, trucking, medicine, and in the creation of small family-owned businesses. And whereas Sikh Americans have served as members of Congress, mayors, judges, city council members, soldiers, and scientists. And whereas the Sikh and Punjabi American communities of California continue to make important contributions to our state and nation. And whereas the Sikh Council of Central California, representing a dozen main Sikh temples in the Fresno County area, actively takes part in the multi-faith exchange at interfaith alliance meetings and seminars to share their monotheistic religion and the tenets of their faith, and the important role that Sikh Americans play in furthering mutual understanding and respect among all peoples. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Governing Board of the Elk Grove Unified School District that November 19th is designated as Sikh American Awareness and Appreciation Month. And be it further resolved that the Governing Board of the Elk Grove Unified School District recognizes and acknowledges the significant contributions made by Californians of Sikh heritage to our state, and by adoption, this resolution seeks to afford all students the opportunity to better understand, recognize, and appreciate the rich history of Sikh Americans, and be it further resolved that this resolution be distributed to every school in the district. If there are members representing the Sikh community, please stand and be recognized.
Yeah, we have a blue card on that, and Gertrude Tender Rentawa, excuse me. Please speak.
Hi everybody, good evening. My name is Gurjitinder Singh Randhawa. I am Commissioner of Diversity and Inclusion Commission for the City of Elk Grove, and also member of Advisory Board of California, Secretary of State. I'm resident of Elk Grove City for a long time, All my kids are raised here. Thanks for giving me opportunity to speak some words about the November as Sikh American Awareness and Appreciation Month. This year is special to the Sikh community because we are celebrating the 550th anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Guru Nanak was the founder of Sikhism and the first of the 10 Guru. His birth is celebrated worldwide as Guru Nanak Gurpurab in the month of November. Guru Nanak traveled far and wide teaching people the message of one God who dwells in every one of his creations and constitutes the eternal truth. He set up a unique spiritual, social, and political platform based on equality, fraternal love, goodness, and virtue. In the Sikh tradition, a truly religious person is one who cultivates the spiritual self while also serving the communities around them. In California, we celebrate November as Sikh Appreciation Month, thanks to it being passed by California Assembly. Special thanks to Elk Grove Unified School District Board, who has been celebrating the Sikh Appreciation Month for the last few years, and it has been a great accomplishment for the community. You know, I wear blue turban today because we have lost a Sikh police officer in Houston. The Sikh community in Houston and around the world is mourning the loss of Sandeep Singh Taliwal, the tribalizing sheriff's deputy in the Harris County in Texas, who was shot and killed during a traffic stop on this Friday. It's a huge loss to our community and the younger generation that we hoped we would inspire. Taliwal was someone who always wanted to help others. He helped coordinate disaster relief efforts to communities affected by the hurricanes Harvey and Maria. He helped lead a team of volunteers that delivered water and other necessaries to a farmer surviving a drought. Anytime Taliwal was on vacation, he would reach out to United Sikhs and ask about what program they were working on
Please
the
wrap
area
up,
so
sir.
who could help.
You have 3 minutes, so please wrap up.
Last.
Thank you.
Elk Grove is diverse city, and Elk Grove Unified School District has been doing a fantastic job to educate the community of all those are involved. We would like to express our gratitude and thanks to Elk Grove Unified School District for being so supportive of our community and helping us spread our contribution to this nation. And at last, once again, I thanks to my sister Bobby Singh Ellen and Elk Grove School District Board who present this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we want to go ahead and adopt resolution number 17 that designates November 2019 as Sikh American Awareness and Appreciation Month.
I'd like to make a motion to pass the resolution. I'd like to say a couple of comments, but should we do the vote first? Okay, so I move it.
I second it.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Ms. Singh-Allen?
Thank you. You know, when I was asked recently at a forum, why did I run to be a school board member? Why did I want to be part of the school board? In the community, and I've shared this before, but I'm going to share it again, we had 2 murders that took place in Elk Grove. There were 2 elderly gentlemen that were wearing turbans. And I really thought that that was an opportunity for me to lend my voice to bring greater awareness for diversity, for other cultures, because while we are a diverse community, we don't always celebrate our diversity, and we don't always really understand who we are, where we come from. So if we can shape the minds of young children, teach them kindness, respect, and tolerance of all cultures, then we grow up to be more productive human beings. So that was really one of my driving forces, along with a number of other things. But it was a tragedy that brought me here. And our community deals with bullying on an ongoing basis, and it's good to see that one of our following resolutions is also on anti-bullying awareness. But like my brother, Mr. Randhawa, mentioned, Deputy Sandeep Singh Dhaliwal really has captured the minds of all walks of life internationally. I've never seen such an outpouring of support before it really in my lifetime for a fallen officer. And I think it's because he really captured the essence of what it means to be a Sikh, that true meaning that what we follow is selfless service. He was the living embodiment of that selfless service, of doing whatever he could for the betterment of humanity. And people in his community responded very passionately and very favorably. He was a trailblazer in that he was one of the first allowed to wear a turban and his full beard as a concession to serve in the law enforcement agency. So this was a major accomplishment because we don't see that everywhere. So just, again, celebrating Sikh awareness. Always remember, if we can leave one little nugget, 99% of the gentlemen that wear a turban, they are of the Sikh faith. It's a real important information to know as we understand our neighbors, not only in our community but elsewhere. It's the 5th largest religion, and we have been here in California for over 100 years. So I'm a proud Sikh. I'm the first Sikh. I'm the first Asian to serve on this school district. I'm proud to see our board supporting our diversity in its truest form. So thank you, my colleagues.
Thank you. Okay, you want to go ahead and some pictures right quick? Pardon me? Okay. National Bullying Prevention Month. Mr. Ross, you come up, please.
Good evening, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. October is National Bullying Prevention Month. This is a national campaign started by Pacers National Bullying Prevention Center in 2006. The campaign reaches out to communities, schools, and families around the world to educate the need to keep kids safe in school. Our schools start the year with bullying prevention efforts. Several schools started the year with PBIS kickoff. This event lays the foundation for a positive school culture and expectations of mutual respect. Our elementary schools continue to emphasize and teach stop, walk, and talk, and our middle and high schools expect respect. This month, our school staff are being trained on bullying prevention. Our district recognizes the growing issue around cyberbullying, and our Digital Citizenship Task Force works closely with our schools on developing lessons for students on internet safety and cyberbullying. And finally, Elk Grove will be participating in the 6th Annual Bullying Prevention Rally at the California Unity Center on October 16th. And 35 6th graders from Roy Herberger Elementary School will be participating in this great event. So tonight I ask the board to adopt this resolution recognizing October as National Bullying Prevention Month.
Okay, call for a motion to adopt resolution number 19 that designates October as National Bullying Prevention Month.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. You're up again, Mr. Ross. Red Ribbon Week.
All right. All right. The Board of Education is requested to recognize the efforts of teachers and staff and administrators in supporting Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd through the 31st, as part of the district-wide prevention program that encompasses education and positive youth development. Red Ribbon Week is the oldest and largest proactive drug prevention program in the country. It is an awareness campaign designed to warn students about the dangers of alcohol, tobacco, and other drug use so they will choose to be free of these barriers to success. Throughout the week, messages are delivered to students in various creative and positive ways, and our student leaders are involved in planning activities at their schools. This recognition will declare district support of this campaign to create awareness of substance abuse problems, and other research-based prevention programs. And again, I ask the board to adopt this resolution declaring October 23rd through the 31st of 2019 Red Ribbon Week.
Do we have a motion on that?
So move.
Second?
It's been seconded by Mr. Fortina. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Safe and positive learning environment. Mrs. Sue Larson.
Good evening again. Tonight, we ask that our district reaffirms our commitment to our constitutional mandate to educate all students living within our jurisdictional boundaries, regardless of their immigration status, and that all students have a right to attend school free of bullying, intimidation, and discrimination, and that schools are welcoming places for all families. I respectfully ask the board to adopt Resolution 23 that confirms the Elk Grove Unified School District is a safe and positive learning environment for all.
Been moved by Ms. Allen.
Second.
And second by Ms. O'Leary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Week of the School Administrator, Mr. Dave Riley.
Good evening, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, Ms. Avalos. Research has demonstrated that district and school leadership is one of the significant dynamics of schools and districts where high achievement occurs for all students, regardless of socioeconomic factors and home language or ethnic diversity. Therefore, in recognition of the dedicated efforts of school and district administrators to make a difference in the lives of children and to support the work of the teachers and the support staff who work in our schools, the state of California has identified the week of October 13 through 19, 2019 as the Week of the School Administrator, Education Code 44015.1. The Elk Grove Unified School District Board of Education is asked to approve the attached resolution.
Okay, to have a motion.
So moved.
It's been second. Who?
Ms. Albiani.
Okay, Ms. Albiani, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Energy Awareness Month, call on Mr. Pierce. Energy Conservation Program update.
Thank you again, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent, Ms. Avalos. I have to admit, it's hard coming up asking you to adopt a resolution in honor of Energy Conservation Month after all those resolutions that have such heartfelt meaning. But this has been an activity that we have done. This will be our 10th year so that we can share information with the board regarding our energy conservation measures. I have refined it this year, so I will not I'll go through it very quickly. So again, our program began in 2009. It's a great program in that it doesn't cost us anything. This is simply changing behaviors and practices of people. So we have had ambitious goals since day one. We have a direct savings goal of $1.6 million in the 18-19 fiscal year. We had a consumption goal of reducing our kilowatt hours of nearly 12 million kilowatt hours on a year. And then if we meet that goal and school sites also reach their goal, we share some of that savings back with our school sites. So to just get right to it and share the results, again, you see our goals there, both in terms of dollars and kilowatt hour reduction. In the green, you see what we actually achieved for 18-19. So fairly staggering numbers. We actually saved over $2 million in actual utility expenses, and our kilowatt hour reduction, instead of being the nearly 12 million kilowatt hours, we saved over 15 million kilowatt hours in the 18-19 fiscal year. So when the program began, we used 2008-9 as the baseline because we started making measures in 2009, 2010. You can see that way back in 2008, 2009, with far less kids, far less campuses, far less buildings, we were using over 62 million kilowatt hours of electricity a year. 18-19, we only used 47 million kilowatt hours. So even with our growth, we have had a dramatic reduction in our overall kilowatt hour consumption. You can see over the 10 years of the program, over 135 million kilowatt hours. So over that 10-year lifespan, we have saved nearly $19 million in utility expenses. At today's kilowatt hour rate, if we were still adhering to the practices that we did in 2008-9, our electric bill would have been $9.1 million as opposed to $6.9 million that it is today. Those are dollars that go directly back to the instruction and to the classroom, so it's very important. And then we always like to acknowledge our big savers. So every school site deserves to be recognized. They've all done a lot of things. They've all changed practices. They all have patience with us. But these are our top performing elementary schools this year, followed by our top performing middle schools and high schools. And with that, I would request that you adopt the resolution and be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions before we adopt the resolution? No questions. Okay, adopt resolution number 18 that designates October 1st through the 31st, 2019 as Energy Awareness Month.
So moved.
It's been moved by Ms. Salbiani,
I'll second.
second by Nancy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, sir. Okay, student expulsion. Ask anyone wish to address the board in closed session regarding student expulsion. Seeing none, I ask for a motion. I ask for student expulsion.
I move the recommendation for student expulsions.
I second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we have a few blue cards, public comment. Tara Martin, please come forward. We'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, members of the board. Hola, ¿cómo está? ¿Cómo está takana? Nihoma? Annyeonghaseyo. I said hello, how are you, in many different languages because Elk Grove is culturally diverse. And although I've been hearing all of this great stuff, I want to let you know that the diversity is still lacking. Last time I was here, I spoke to you about a terrible issue that I was going through with Toby Johnson Middle School, where my son was fast-tracked into an expulsion. And after hiring a lawyer, being insulted, having my lawyer be insulted, and the witness be insulted, I came here to kind of reach out to you guys to see what are you guys doing to deal with the diversity of how you guys treat some of the students who are African American or Sikh or Asian. Some of these things are happening daily, and when a parent goes to the school to try to address those issues, they're kind of dismissed. And it is easy to dismiss something when it's not, something you've ever experienced. But just because it's not something you personally experienced doesn't mean that it's not happening. So I've been working with Craig Murray, and I appreciate him. We've been working together, but there are a couple of things that I wanted to bring up and see if we can move forward with understanding what process improvement classes that you guys have. What's in the curriculum for the diversity training that your leaders and teachers are going through? I know that there's a lot of training, and I hear it's this month here and it's this week there, and we're doing all of these kind of training, but I'm interested in seeing what that looks like to make sure that the people that we have over our children have been fully trained in how they speak, not just to our children, but how they address the parents. That's very important. The other thing that I wanted to know is I'm going to be asking for is some transparency, because what I'm aware of by speaking to some of the other parents, you find out that some of these teachers had issues before in other schools. And then next thing you know, they've been promoted and shipped off to another school, and they repeat the same process. And so I hate to say this, but if we don't get that under control, there is racism there, and I just want to make sure that we get those things under control. So I'm hoping to work with the board to see how we can improve the process and how we can take a look at the actual curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Renee Shankar.
Good evening. I'm a parent. My daughter has been bullied since her freshman year. She's a senior at a Monterey Trails High School. I have contacted the district for assistance, but have yet to see a positive concrete resolution. She was jumped by her bully and her adult acquaintances last year, now suffers from PTSD and has seizures. Our children in our community have committed suicide due to bullying, but why are we still having a very lax rule to prevent bullying? We give bullies many chances to hurt our children with the current progressive discipline process. Most recent incident happened during the summer school while my daughter was being verbally abused and harassed. The campus supervisor watched. When the incident was vaguely investigated by the acting VP, the campus supervisor's response was, "I thought kids were being kids." As a parent, I'm hoping to see a change in rules and regulations that stop bullying when it starts. I would like to see training for all personnel, high school attendants to respond immediately when an incident occurs. I would also like to see the National Bully Prevention Month extended throughout the year, if possible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lorraine Pryor.
Always a pleasure to be before you, and I won't be here very long, but I have a couple of things that I think we need to go over. I've noticed the last couple of meetings, I keep bringing up issues and nobody ever gets back to me, so I want to make sure that you all know that I'm expecting an answer when I do ask questions and when I am concerned about the things going on your campuses. I expect some sort of response from somebody. I don't know if it's because people have seen me so often around here that they don't think that I'm looking for something, but I'm always looking for something. If I bring it up, it's because it's a concern of mine. And so instead of folks trying to figure out who's telling me what information, let's focus on why the incidents are happening in the first place. So this week, I've only had the occasion to be on 2 of your campuses, which is a record week for me. I had a chance to go visit Sava Elk Grove, which is a fantastic campus. I had a really great time actually sitting in on an IEP and just seeing the way that the staff over there responds to students. And the only word that came to mind was hope. A lot of times when we're dealing with Black children, they lose their hope on your campuses because they don't have anybody really pouring into them. And hope is a really big thing. And it causes kids, when they lose hope, to feel hopeless. And when you feel hopeless, you don't really want to be around. And so I'm trying to figure out how we can infuse that enthusiasm onto some of your campuses here in the district. During that IEP, what was brought to my attention was that when students transfer from Elk Grove Unified to a charter school, you all don't include the IEP accommodations in the body of the IEP. It's given on a separate piece of paper, the accommodation plan. So I'm trying to figure out how we can start to make sure that those accommodations are listed in the body of the IEP, so nobody's having to do double time to try to figure out what accommodations a kid needs. And they said that that is kind of normal coming from the district, that they don't get the accommodations inside the body. So let's work on that. And then I know I brought up the college fair last time, but what I forgot to mention, when we talk about whether the college fair is going to continue to go on, and we talk about there's a lack of return on the investment of having that event here, what I want to bring to your attention is the lack of preparedness. So you had students from this district show up without their transcripts because you had staff on your school campuses telling them that they needed a parental signature for said transcripts. Now, I've never needed one, and I grew up in this district. So if we can start having kids prepared with their transcripts and whatever information they need, instead of counselors telling them that those letters of recommendation are not needed, that they encourage them to go ahead and round those up. And when we're talking about safe and positive environment for all, I hope that that would include Black kids. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Ms. Albiani.
I'd like to call for a motion to approve items 1 through 21 on the consent agenda.
It's been moved in second. I'm Ms. Singh Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Who's the move?
So the move was Bobby,
Ms. Albiani.
and I'll be second.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, we need to get on the same page. We got it okay? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. Okay, the LCAP update on local indicators for the Elk Grove Unified School District and Elk Grove Charter School. Mr. Cerruti.
Thank you, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. I appreciate the opportunity. There's 3 different portions of this this evening, and so I'll, unless the board directs me differently, I'll pause between each and take any questions or comments that folks have.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll provide a brief LCAP update, but there are some adjustments that have happened at the state level as well as here locally that are worth noting. And then this is the time of the year, and it's a required process, which is we will be providing information and an update on our district local indicators, and that'll be followed by a similar process with Elk Grove Charter. So in terms of the LCAP update, the new state template is completed, and it's out, so we've become aware of it, and we'll be working with the new template. There's an updated on-site the updated online site LCAP that we have. We continue to update that based on feedback from our principals who are the end users of that. And that doubles as our single school plans. And then we also have updated the student, parent, and staff needs analysis surveys. And so if you recall, I come every year and provide information about what the results of our needs analysis have been. We do that in and around February. And with feedback from the board, we've implemented your feedback into the surveys. And typically what we had done in the past is the needs analysis surveys went live late November to early December, and then ran through about the first half of January. And because of just the evolution of our processes and the continued improvement of our processes, Those were opened up as of September 3rd, and so what that'll enable us to do in that window of time from September through November, it offers our principals and sites much greater expanded opportunities to engage our stakeholders as well as us at the district office. So just want to provide that information. This is something that we developed this year, and it's just a snippet of a window into it's a document, but it's really a usable tool and resource that our principals have and our district office administrators as well. It literally lists every single step that our sites should be taking in terms of implementing a needs analysis and continuous improvement process over a 12-month period. All of those links that you see, everything in blue, are live resources available to our administrators. And so every time new data comes out, all information that our sites need in order to implement a high-quality site LCAP development process is captured in this document and in this process. We also have, and the board's become familiar with, and we'll be getting more information about in November at the November workshop. Are you not seeing this? Is the really the completion of the three source data set of input, output, and outcome data, and our focus has been on output data. And so our program implementation continuum specific to family and community engagement, our English Learner Services program, PBIS, and our Partnership Academy pathways all have data sources that are now available that will also enrich our site LCAP development processes and continuous improvement processes. And so with that, that's the first portion. If there are any questions, the board's been kept apprised of our continuous improvement efforts just as the state and the statewide process for continuous improvement accountability through the LCAP process has evolved, so have we.
Mr. Fortini, you have a question?
Yeah, no question, comment?
Yes, sir.
You have often spoken and addressed issues around principals' activities in the development of parent participation. And I just want to say that as I have been out visiting schools, I am just really, really pleased that principals share with me before I ask what they are doing to elicit parent involvement and the activities they're involved in terms of developing that participation, both for LCAP but for other student activities. So the work you've been doing in terms of my firsthand knowledge has really been successful because they're proud of what they're doing and they want to share that.
That's good to hear, and they are doing a good job and working very hard with it, so thank you.
Yeah.
The second portion of this is our district local indicators. So just a bit of information about this to set the stage, then I'll ask my partner and colleague, Ms. Christine Aquito, the Director of Research and Evaluation, to come up and walk through the data. And so, as you may recall, that the LCAP metrics, we have 28 different measures that we consider our key performance indicators and our outcome measures. The district, recently the board received information about that. Our district measures, as well as each of our school sites, receives information about their performance last year as it relates to those 28 measures. And some of those measures are combination of state available measures, but also local indicators. And this is an indication of the 5 local indicators that we have. And currently the dashboard measures 7 of the statewide and these 5 local measures. And just a note about those, this process is this is a required process. And so while we try and keep the board updated, this is a required process that we report out on progress of our local indicators. So the local indicators that we'll review today are these 5. When they were first originally put out, there was some legislative information that came out. It was really left up to school districts as the LCAP process first came out over the past several years, just like the template has been updated, so is the process. And what's been refined is that the district the state has provided some increased guidance and some options in terms of clarity around what data that you actually pull for these local indicators. And so a key to this also is that these local indicators are only specific to the district, not specific to the site. So the data package that our sites get that has the 28 measures, our local indicators are not a site measure, they are only a district measure. So what the state did is they established criteria, and that criteria are these three things. We need to annually measure progress, we need to report, which is what we're doing, and then we upload the information into the dashboard. And so if you do those three things, then you'll meet the state requirement. If you don't, you won't, and if you don't for several years, it'll note that you don't for two or more years. What's important to note is there aren't any numeric measures as it relates to these. Okay? And with that, we're going to shift over to the actual measures, and I'll have Christine walk you through those. Christine.
Okay, the first one is basic services, and this comprises of teacher assignment, materials, and facilities. So these are the required measures that we have to report out on. The number of misassignments of teachers of English learners, we have 2. Total teacher misassignments, we have 2. And vacant teacher positions at the start of the year was 10 teachers. And this is data based on the most recent information we have, but it's from the 17-18 school year. It's to align our outward-facing information with some of the SARC information that's already out there. The next piece of it is materials from the work of our curriculum and...
Excuse me, we have one clarification.
I just wanted to ask, for the benefit of those watching, could you define what a teacher misassignment is?
Teachers that are teaching a course that is not aligned with their credential.
Right,
yeah.
Thank you.
And we have measures that are similar to this in our LCAP measures that you've received, but it was a course metric. Yeah.
Thank you.
For instructional materials, the CPL department conducts annual sufficiency hearings, and then that provides confirmation that we've consistently provided all students with access to instructional materials. So we can report 0 students without access. And then we also have 0 facilities not meeting the good repair standard, and this is from our FIT data. There's a survey that's done every year, and if something is not in alignment, it's fixed or repaired immediately, so that's our process. So we can report out that 100% of our schools are meeting this good repair standard. For implementation of state standards, this is our second local indicator. We administer a annual state standards implementation survey. It asks teachers to specify the extent to which they are familiar with and how often they apply, and then their perception of their current level of implementation of each of the state standards that are associated with their teaching assignments. So teachers are asked to self-rate their own personal implementation, and we use this to monitor changes over time, differences across schools or subjects, and then use it to target resources. So this shows the past 2 years with bars representing the self-reporting of implementation levels from the teachers. Of those surveyed, the percentage of teachers indicating they're implementing state standards was 66% overall across all the different subject areas, and that's up from 59% in 2018. By content area, this varies. The percentage of teachers implementing standards ranged from 45% for literacy standards to 100% for health. For English, it was 90%, an increase from 88% from last year, and for math, it's 89%. Here, we also show a big increase in science. Went from 31% to 47%. Next generation science standards are relatively new, adopted in 2015. We do have new NGSS instructional materials that will be available in 2020-21 for secondary grades, and then for 21-22 for our elementary grades. So the focus of the PD that's going on in the district has been on understanding the new standards and making connections to the previous standards and our materials that they have in possession right now. Much like the process when the Common Core came on board. And over the next few years, we expect to see responses shift to higher levels of implementation. For the parent engagement local indicator, this is the one that was revised. So halfway through the past year, the State Board of Education changed the way districts are to evaluate it. Previously, we used our own data of our choosing, but now the state requires all districts to use a newly developed self-reflection tool and to rate ourselves on a 5-point rating scale from exploration, beginning, initial, full, to sustaining. And we're to rate ourselves on 12 elements that can be grouped into broad categories of building relationships between school staff and families, building partnerships for student outcomes, and seeking input for decision making. So Lisa Lavasser in the Office of Family and Community Engagement took the lead in these determinations. She took into consideration various data sources that we have in the district, ranging from parent engagement, what she knows about parent engagement activities across the district and how we've improved them over time, specific questions from our culture climate portion of our parent survey, also our culture climate staff survey, LCAP needs parent input, as well as discussions and direct feedback that has happened across various parent committees over the year. So from these, from this information, she made some determinations about the ratings on the elements, and we've kind of aggregated it here for presentation across the 3 broad areas as initial for the 3 areas. So overall, we can say that we are in the initial stage of implementation of parent engagement overall, right in the middle of the implementation scale that the state has provided. And then we feel that some of the next, with the recent release of the Family and Community Engagement Program Implementation Continuum that we released to principals on rubrics and ratings, there will probably be a lot of efforts. I know that they've been contacted a lot by the school sites for improving implementation. Even though the state changed the measure, we still do have our district LCAP, and one of the measures we have are some of these survey items from the parent survey about opportunities for parent input and parent involvement that we have been monitoring, we've been capturing, we've been looking at this, so we want to be able to continue to report out on that. In 18-19, we had 76% of our parents who responded to the survey. They agreed that their school had been effective in providing opportunities for parent input in making decisions for the school or district. And that's been the same percentage as the past 2 years. We have 84% of parents agreed that their school had been effective in providing parent involvement or parent education opportunities, which was slightly lower than previous years. And we also monitor and show this by ethnicity of the parents or the students. Let's see, student. Oops, I think I skipped one. Okay, for school climate, we administer a culture climate survey to students, school staff, and parents around these 4 themes: connectedness, climate of support and knowledge, and fairness of discipline, rules and norms, and safety. So our overall results, the 3 groups of bars on the left-hand side shows overall across the 4 areas, show that parents have the most favorable ratings at 87% compared to school staff at 84% and students at 69%. Of the 4 themes, students and staff rated climate of support for academic learning as the highest, and parents also rated this highly, but the highest parent rating is for safety. We also look at this by student group as well, or by ethnicity and LCAP student groups. And overall ratings for culture climate ranged from 61% for African American students to 72% for Asian and Filipino students. For broad course of study for elementary school students in 1819, we measured student access to and enrollment in a broad course of study as the percentage of students who received report card grades in the subject areas of ELA, math, social science, science, VAPA, and PE. Those are the required courses that we're supposed to look at. And students who received report card grades in all subject areas were considered, or counted in our case, as having a broad course of study. At the secondary level, because students are automatically enrolled in courses required for graduation and they have can select from many courses based on their interest, the district focused on enrollment in courses aligned to college and career success, namely honors, AP, IB courses, and CTE courses. So those are our measures for the different levels. So we found that 82% of elementary students received a broad course of study, as evidenced by report card grades in each of these 6 content areas. District-wide, 100% of students, elementary students received English and math. 92 received social science, 93 science, 89 received VAPA, and 99 received PE, or they received PE grades. They received the grades. By ethnicity, this ranged from 81% for African American students to Asian students, for African American and Asian students, to 87% for American Indian students. And there was quite a bit of variation by school site, with percentages ranging from 42% to 100%. In 1819, we show 49% of middle school students enrolled in honors or accelerated courses, a decrease of 1 percentage point from the year before, and a 3 percentage point drop from 16-17. There's variation by ethnicity and student group. More Asian and Filipino students enrolled in honors courses, where at 61%, whereas African American students enrolled in the least at 30%. Among student groups, socioeconomically disadvantaged enrolled in the most courses at 39%, when students with disabilities enrolled in the least at 6%. And we have variation across middle schools, with some schools enrolling 50 to 60% of students in honors, and other schools enrolling students in the mid to high 30% range. At the high school level, 47% of students were enrolled in honors, AP, or IB courses in 1819, which is the same percentage enrolled in the past 2 years. By ethnicity, more Asian and Filipino students were enrolled in honors, AP, and IB courses at 62 and 63%, and African American students were enrolled in the least at 29%. And across high schools, some schools enrolled percentages of students in the 50 percentage point range, while other schools enroll students in the mid-30s to low 40% range. For this measure, CTE course enrollments, we only showed 2 years of data because in 17-18 served as our new baseline. The year prior, we audited all CTE courses in response to some updated CDE course descriptions and also requirements for high-quality CTE pathways. And through that process, we ended up reclassifying courses that no longer met the CTE model curriculum standards, and the number of students enrolled in CTE courses dropped as a result of that alignment, and hence the new baseline. So in 1819, we have 47% of high school students enrolled in CTE courses, and that was a 2 percentage point increase from the year prior. This ranged by ethnicity from 42% for African American and Filipino students to 50% for white students. And variation exists across high schools, from 31% of students enrolling in CTE courses at one school up to 72% at another school. So those are the 5 local measures that we have assessed and determined that we have met the performance standards for each of them. And we plan to enter the MET ratings through the dashboard utility, which will then show up and report out publicly in the California dashboard, which will likely be released in early December.
Excuse me, you have any questions on that segment, Ms. Singh Allen, or that she went through, or?
No, not right.
Okay. Go ahead.
I just know in some of the data you gave for the honors and the AP courses, for certain populations, it seemed lower. So my only concern was just access for some of those courses. Is there like a plan of action that will follow up with some of this data? I'm assuming there is, but yeah.
And we will touch on this right here, this final slide of this section. Great question.
Sheriff Espinosa, did you have a? I think that was a lot of our questions that we had. Did you have any? Yeah.
Yeah, so mine is related to that. When I looked at slide 16, family and community engagement, I wondered if the responses varied by ethnicity within sites. I don't know if that's something that you've looked at yet, but my question is going to, I think there was about a 10% disparity, may have been on the previous one, by ethnicity district-wide. I can't see that tiny font, so it might be that one. So I'm wondering, are kids and parents and families having a different experience reflected in the data within a school? And the reason I ask that is because at that unit, at that level, we can do something about it, right? We know exactly what kind of information they're getting and what kind of, parent information nights are happening and where we need to target our time and our resources. So is that something you have looked at or will look at?
So the specific to this, my response shifts to the information specific to site data, right? And so our sites receive a variety of data sets. There's this crossover between all the information, our LCAP metrics, all 28, and these local indicators. There's a reason that we specifically, when we began looking at output measures in the development of the program implementation continuum, there's a reason we very early on analyzed whether or not we could apply that to family and community engagement, which we've determined we can. And so all of our schools receive their data, and it's all disaggregated by subgroup. And so our our sites know very specifically what the various ethnicities and subgroups, how they're responding and how they're responding differently. And specific to family and community engagement, all of our schools have PIC data. And so the thing that's enabled us to do, and while this is the family and community engagement PIC is newer than both PBIS and EL, which has been in development for several more years. It's provided clear context and a structure by which, if we just refer to it as, so how are we effectively engaging our families? What does that mean? And it can mean 10 different things to 10 different people, and we have a specific construct. And so, when we look at E4 and you look at the fourth strategic goal, and it's at 9 o'clock, that green bubble, if that was a live website and you clicked on it, you see the framework for family and community engagement that we operate with, and then that has specific measures to it. And so that's the bang for the buck in terms of us being able to really analyze the connectedness that our families are having. And if there is a differential between various subgroups, we can begin to analyze exactly why that is.
Okay, and that's what I'd like to hear more about going forward. I know, we're kind of early in the process for this cycle, but I guess I'd hope to hear that we are using this information to actually differentiate our interventions, right? If we have, for example, we had a 30 percentage point gap in between the well, not even the highest and lowest, but the highest and lowest of the ethnic breakouts for honors and AP course enrollment in secondary. If we have anything that looks like that within a school, I would expect to see a plan of action to close the gap. Specifically, I guess my point is, if our plans are not targeting gap closure, then it's really just a plan for gap maintenance. So that's what I just want to say. I hope to see more of that going forward.
And the whole site LCAP process. So a place for us to closely examine that exact thing is within each school's site LCAP. And because now that we have the full palette of data, and I don't want to say that we have all of the outcome data, But we're heavy in input and we're heavy in outcome data, and we now have output data sets that we can begin to truly analyze the entire system. So we will even see shifts in the type of goals that our sites are writing into their plan, because it used to be they were locked into and limited to outcome measures. And so it would be, we're going to do some professional learning, and then our goal is that professional learning is going to increase reading CASP scores. And there's too much distance between that professional learning and that level of measure. What we're doing is, now that we can begin to implement these output measures, if we can find, for example, and we are examining whether or not we can look at a school's literacy program, for example. And if we can determine that we can accurately measure levels of implementation, then we can start to look at levels of implementation as it relates to those outcome measures. And so we'll be sharing more of this in November with the board, and so it will enrich our conversations. But specific to your question, ma'am, regarding we should see that we're focusing on gap closure, I would say, in addition to gap closure, the most important thing is to identify cause. Right? I'm not disagreeing with anything that you're saying. I'm reinforcing exactly what you're saying. That's why we use the decision-making model, because it requires us to do it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have quite a few questions, and I'm going to keep this paper and hold it for November to look at your cause analysis you'll be conducting, because I had a number of questions around PE, the parent-family engagement, the difference between students' assessment of climate and teachers and parents, and why we're not at 100% for all of our subject areas. So I'll be coming back to those, but I have one question.
Yes, sir.
At the state level, to your knowledge, has there been any discussions about changing the definition of chronic absenteeism?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'll look to my right to see whether or not my colleague has heard of anything related to that.
No, but what were you thinking of?
Well, what I'm thinking of is that with the state's definition of chronic absenteeism, it would be really hard to make positive change, because it's so limiting.
With that 10%
Yeah.
criteria?
Yeah.
How would it be?
Well, that and the three or more absences is considered chronic absenteeism.
I think 3 or more tardies, they count as an
Tardies
absence
count,
or something
yeah.
like that.
And then,
Tardies.
and so they add up pretty quick in a number of situations. So I just was wondering if there were any talks to change that to be more, I would see a change to be more liberal in terms of the consideration. To me, it's a pretty tight definition. Okay, thank you.
No, I haven't heard any movement towards changing that definition.
Ms. Albiani, you got
Okay, I had forwarded Mark a number of questions earlier today. He answered for me, but I think two that I would like to point out that I had answered for me is when you're looking at slide number 19, which is the climate one you had referred to, I found it very heartening that all numbers went up in every subcategory. And I know we're working and trying to improve ourselves, but I think it is a sign that it is working, which is a positive to me, and that included 23,000 students, 23,820 students being surveyed. So 1 percentage point is a big deal when you're talking about that many people. So I was trying to get a feel for what those differences meant. So I just wanted to share with the group that it was a large number of students responding, and I think while we would like to see this obviously much higher, I hope this means that our programs are on the right track. And I think the most concerning thing I heard was about broad course of study, and that we aren't offering a broad course of study consistently across our district. And so that, is that what that means?
Yeah, and one of the not the only reason, but a significant reason for that. So a challenge that we have is if we are attempting to provide interventions for students. And so if a student needs intervention in English language arts or math, oftentimes that's going to take additional time, and there's only a certain amount. So I'm not saying it's impossible for us to address, but that can be a major contributor to that. But the other part of that is this is still relatively new, and like anything, when you measure it and you pay attention to it and you have accountability and responsibility for it, things will happen. And so I would just say understanding what this is, even the concept of what do we mean by broad course of study.
Yep.
My guess is that if we asked, in fact, in the not too distant past, if we asked all of our principals and even district administrators what this was, even 12 months ago, we wouldn't have had the response that we currently do. So these metrics are still relatively new to one understand, but that is a reality in terms of getting kids in as many courses as they want when we are looking at some interventions. And so that is something that we're always exploring. How can we best do that while still providing kids a very comprehensive educational experience?
Yes, and I do value, we are happy the basics of reading and math are at the highest point is a positive. I think we also need to consider in our middle and high schools our schedules and how those deter us from allowing students to have choices in a broad study.
And one of the things is, as we've become more sophisticated in our data analysis, a major input data source is a master schedule. And so Bindi and Craig and the school directors are working directly with each of our school sites to analyze their master schedule and all aspects of it. So it is a crucial element to examine when you're talking about educational programming at our schools.
Yes, and as a parent of a student in a traditional school, that is an additional challenge at a North Grade.
Understood.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one.
What I'll do is finish this section up, and I think this slide will go quickly because we were just touching on it, but I just want to reinforce moving forward, this is what you were exactly talking about, and that we are in alignment with your thinking and your direction as a board, which is we review the data in more detail, conduct cause analysis to ensure that we understand what's causing that gap, and then continuing and deepening the existing work of communicating expectations and improving communications with our kids, implementing PSAT for all. CCGI has been something that is becoming, is deepening and expanding through the work of our head district counselor, Nicole, and supported by Craig, implementing CTE pathways, focusing on the outward mindset and high quality instruction. We intentionally left those at the bottom, not because they're less important, but because they really provide the foundation for the rest of that work. And with that, I'll shift it over to Craig, and he'll be joined in a little bit by Mr. Levine. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Mr. Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, Ms. Avalos. So we've got the similar presentation from the presentation Mark just gave you with Elk Grove Charter. So these first slides are going to look very similar to you from what Mark presented. We have the same data dashboard from the state of California with the broad indicators and then the also local control measures. The same 5 measures for Elk Grove Charter as local measures as you saw, as Mark described for the district. These include basic services, teacher assignments, materials, and facilities, priority 1, the implementation of state standards for priority 2, parent engagement, priority 3, the school climate, priority number 6, and broad course of study, priority 7. So the State Board of Education approved standards that require districts to annually measure its progress, report the results at a regularly scheduled public board meeting of the local governing board, and upload and publicly report the results through the dashboard. As we know, we need to do this for both the district schools and also Elk Grove Charter as its own separate entity. And the three performance levels for these local indicators are met, and not met for 2 or more years with a narrative box. And as Mark stated, there's not numerical values that accompany these. And to go over each of these performance areas and how Elk Grove Charter is meeting these standards, Mr. Mark Levine's coming up for the next part.
Thank you. Good evening. All right, so I'm going to go over the same basic data that Christine went over, but for specific to Elk Grove Charter School. So in regards to basic services, we are indicating that we met this local indicator. We have 0 teachers that are misassigned of English learners, 0 total teachers that are misassigned, 0 vacant teaching positions as of last year. We also have 0 instances of students not having access to materials, and we have 0 instances of our facility having the not in good repair status. So we are able to mark that as met. Going on to the second indicator, which is implementation of state standards. We're able to mark this as met as well. This is measured by the annual state content standards survey, same one that the district gives, which captures the perceptions of the teachers with their familiarity and application of standards. Teachers rate their implementation of the standards on a continuum from early developing to developing, early applying and applying. We also implement standard surveys at the local level at Elk Grove Charter School on a 5-point scale, which is based on the state board's new tool. So we're able to mark that we met that as well. If you go to the next slide, this slide shows us that in regards to content standards implementation, the low number of teachers at Elk Grove Charter School really impact or affect this graphic representation. So a more effective way to represent that is on the next slide, where we implement a local survey at Elk Grove Charter School to all teachers based on the content standards. The bars show, the green bar shows the professional learning opportunities at the school. The blue bar is for aligned materials, the yellow one for continuous improvement, and then the bars on the far right are total or overall program implementation. As a survey for the school, these bars indicate the number of teachers that rated the school a 4 or a 5 on the 5-point scale, so on the high end of the scale. And that scale goes from a 1 as exploration and research, a 2 beginning and developing, 3 initial implementation, 4 full implementation, and 5 is full implementation and sustainability. So what we see here is for professional learning opportunities in regards to content standards, 50% of English ELA teachers, 57% of ELD and math teachers, and 36% of science teachers, and 21% of history teachers feel the school is implementing standards at a 4 or a 5. In regards to aligned materials, 64.3 of ELA and ELD teachers, 57.2 of math teachers, 50% of science, and history teachers feel the school's at a 4 or 5. In progress of implementing policies and programs to support staff in the continuous improvement path or model, 35.7% of ELA teachers and 28.6% of ELD, math and history teachers, and that includes 21.4% of science teachers, all rated the school at a 4 or 5. And then looking at the overall implementation of programs, what we have is 50% of staff felt the school was implementing CTE programs at a 4 or 5. 57.2 felt that health education was at a 4 or 5, and then 21.4 for PE, and 42.8 for VAPA, and then 28.6 for world language, rated the school at a 4 or 5. Moving on, for parent engagement, same that Ms. Akito spoke about in this regard is that the state changed, so we follow the same template. State changed the way that this is measured, so we use the same 5-point scale from exploration to sustaining, and in the 3 broad categories for building relationships, building partnerships for student outcomes, and then seeking input for decision making. There's 12 elements in that state, in the state board template or reflection tool, and then those are the 3 broad categories. As a school site, we analyzed that. We implemented a survey to all staff members, all parents, and then as a leadership team, we chose that we are in the initial phase in all 3 of those. And then we'll see some data here in a second on why we chose that for us to be in the initial stage on those. So as a graphical representation, we use the Family and Community Engagement Survey, same for the district. With that, we see that 89% of parents who responded to the survey agreed that Elk Grove Charter had been effective in providing opportunities for parent input and making decisions. That was the same as 17 and 18, and that was up from 78% the year prior. 92% of parents agreed that the school had been effective in providing parent involvement opportunities, which was up from 76% 2 years ago. One of the things that at Elk Grove Charter School, due to the low number of responses from our parents, we understand that is something we need to address. We had 16% response rate in 18-19, which was up from 4% the year before. So when you're looking at a school of 280 students, we know we need to address that and bring that up, and I'll address that in later slides. See here, moving on to school climate. Once again, we can mark this that we met. We administer the same Elk Grove Unified School District Culture and Climate Survey to students, to staff, and to all of our parents. That rates school connectedness, climate of support, also knowledge of fairness of rules and discipline, and then also safety. We also administer a school-wide local survey as well, so we're able to capture that information as a school site. At a minimum, we're required to administer a local survey to at least 3 grade levels and to provide a narrative. We do more than that because we follow the district guidelines and implement the district survey to all students, all staff, all parents. So we can mark that as met. Looking at the data for that, what we see is that the overall climate and culture show that staff have the most favorable rating at 97%, compared to parents at 89% and students at 80%. So that's just overall climate and culture. Of the 4 themes, students rated climate of support as for academic learning and safety as the highest at 87%. Parents rated safety at the highest as 94%. I think it's interesting to note in our own surveys, safety is one of the main reasons students choose, or parents choose to bring their children to Elk Grove Charter School, for that small school environment. And then staff rated climate of support and academic learning as the highest at 98%. Moving on to the next one, which is broad course of study. So this is where we deviate from the district a little bit with broad course of study. We measure this by our enrollment in CTE courses, our enrollment in advanced education courses at the local community college level, and then the amount of students that complete a dual diploma track at the school, ones that are either completing the traditional graduation requirements or the number of students that are completing the alternative graduation requirements. That's the way as a school we've determined that we can determine if we're offering a broad course of study. If we look at the data here, the graphical representation here is for enrollment in CTE courses. What we see is an increase from 41% to 48%. It's the same baseline that Ms. Akito spoke about where the district standardized CTE courses, so we have the 2 years of data on that as well. Not graphically represented is our advanced education enrollment. What we've seen is an increase in that from 6 students 2 years ago participating in advanced education courses at the local community college to 24 students last year that took advantage of that. And then in regards to the number of students that complete graduation requirements, on average over the last 3 years, 75% of our students complete the traditional graduation requirements. 70 to 75% complete the traditional graduation requirements, which leaves 20 to 25% to do the alternative graduation requirements. Any questions before I go into the last part?
Okay, any questions of Mark at
Just a point of clarification, did you say that there were 16% responses?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm sure as you develop this, just would be curious how to increase that, just to get a better read.
Yep.
A better sense of actually, I've seen some good numbers, but then I have to put in back of my mind, it's only 16% of the response, so.
Absolutely.
Just balancing that, but yeah, thank you.
Dr. Leary?
I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but because you're the administrator of the school,
That's okay.
I just like to know overall, how do you feel the tool now being implemented is going to help overall with the vision of the school and feedback on this tool?
Well, I'd say information, the more information we get, there's no way more information can be bad. So as much information as we can get, it will prepare us to be able to make better decisions, to inform our people at the school site that are the front line, so that they can then inform us to make those decisions. As I heard previously, in regards to the data is one thing, which is good, and gap, we don't want to do gap maintenance. We want to be able to reduce that gap, and having that data and that information is the only way that we can do that. And having tools to do that is really the only way that we can build consistency and be able to do that across the board. So as administrator of a small school site, I still want to be able to gather as much information as possible. To speak to Ms. Singh Allen's comment about 16%, yeah, if I had more information, then we'd be able to make better decisions. So.
Ms. Albione, do you have?
Happy Administrators Week if I don't see you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Ms. Sharice Espinoza had a question or a comment.
Yeah. You may have heard that thanks to Sacramento Regional Transit, that some of our district students who are in Sac City or near it or attending Sac City schools can now ride buses for free.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you've done any thinking around the extent to which a lack of transportation is a barrier, particularly for your students to attend community college classes?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is one that we've been able to land on with the students at our school that come from literally every school within the district. We need E-Tran to be on that as well, because we have a lot of students that are transferring from Elk Grove Regional Transit to Sacramento, right? And so that can be a barrier. The other barriers that we've been able to land on is, well, one, transportation, but also the local community college requirements for students to take advanced education courses. When we looked at the numbers of the 24 that took advanced education courses last year, and when we boiled that down to how many actually could, where 16 had a GPA at the level that it needs to be, it's about 15% of our population took advantage of that, which is great from 6 kids the year before, but we absolutely want to increase that. So is that a barrier? Yes, transportation I think is one.
Thank you.
And then the enrollment process I think is the other at the community college. Streamlining that will be, or working as a partner will really help.
Good, I'm glad you're working on all those factors. Thank you.
Ms. Fortinia? Okay. All righty, we'll go ahead and finish off then.
Okay.
You got some more to do.
All right. So I think we have one more. So just moving forward?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So moving forward, that we looked at, we're trying to figure out, what it is what we can do to help address this. So the requirements of the local indicators that we report, but obviously that's not enough. We want to be able to make decisions based on this. So what we found is that we need to be able to address the implementation of content standards. We want to gather more information. We need to get more information from our teachers. How do they feel about them? More information from our community. We want to find the why for parent engagement. We have certain parents that are engaged. When we look at the numbers, they look really good, but it's a small sample size. So why aren't we getting information from all parents? One of the things that we can do with that is leverage the mandatory things we have at the school site. 100% of our parents attend an orientation prior to the school year. 100% of our parents attend a first independent study appointment. So if we can use those times when we have them on site and gather information, our plan is to be able to get more data, better data with that. And then as far as students, how can we increase engagement and connectedness to the students? It sounds almost silly, but one of the biggest things we've seen this year is the implementation of a school lunch. And in previous years, charter schools didn't have to have lunch, especially non-classroom based charter schools. Having a school lunch at our school site has vastly changed that engagement, and as we see students engaged at school, not just in classrooms, just in that act of sitting down and eating and breaking bread with one another, as cheesy as it sounds, is great. So trying to capitalize on that through clubs during that time, more PBIS activities, Red Ribbon Week, those types of things to help continue foster engagement, field trips. Those are all powerful things that we can do at the school site. And then continue to focus on increasing enrollment in advanced education courses, finding out what those barriers are, because we know we want more and more kids taking those courses if they can, if they qualify. And then also increasing the number of CTE courses. The schedule at our school allows students to take Explore CTE courses throughout the district and at schools within the district. And so getting that information out to more and more teachers, having them understand why that's important or how that's impactful. Same thing with parents, same thing with students. Our goal is to see the needle change in all these indicators.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good report.
Thanks.
I had one, before we move on, maybe Mrs. Cerruti, Miss Christine Kikiko, she left, has she gone?
Kikito, yeah.
Kikito, yeah. Anyway, on the BC, I didn't get a chance to follow up a call. On the thumb drive, on the matrix, I just noticed you had all the schools on that, and it was just a duplicate of the district. I was a little confused on that. I just wanted to touch, since we're talking about on the LCAP. I don't know if some of my colleagues got a chance to look at the thumb drive or go through it, but.
I will double check, because what should be on that thumb drive is the district report and then all individual school reports. That's what, and they'll look similar because it's the same 28 metrics. So they'll look very similar, but what you should have, and I can go back, so I'm happy to contact you directly. And if there's individual school reports that you would like also, I mean, if you want to look at literally all of our schools, but what should be on there is there's a district aggregate report,
right,
and then each individual school report should be there. And if that's not what you got, then
it just seems it mirrored the district, all of it.
Well, so if you look at them, they will look if you just glance at them, because it's going to be the very same metrics, but what it will be is the individual measures will be one district aggregate data, and then it'll be Albiani's, and you go down the list and it's every school, but they would look, at a quick glance, they will look to be the same.
Okay, yeah, I didn't get into real detail, but I just thought I would bring it up.
And then if there was a mistake, then I take full responsibility for what isn't apparently on the thumb drive, but there should
Well,
be a
we'll double
district
check it.
report.
I don't know, Ms. Fortuna, did you see it?
I-
It's
she
online,
has
yeah.
it. Okay.
I have it up right now too, and I think it is, when you click into the folder, it lists each of the school sites, and then when you click into that, then the PowerPoint shows the breakout of school climate for that specific school site, like what the percentages were.
So it is
Okay.
by school.
All right.
And I haven't figured that out.
Right. I'll take another look at it too.
If
and
it's
just
at all confusing, just shoot me an email, because the whole purpose is to get, it's a lot of information, but what we wanted to
It
get
is.
you, because it's 28 different metrics, we wanted to
Right.
give you the district view, and then you could get into each school's data as well.
Okay, good.
So-
I mean, it's good information. I just want to get a little clarification on it.
We'll make sure that it's a format that's easy for you to use, and if you wanted paper copy, we can do that for you as well.
Yeah, no, I like the thumb drive. I just want to make sure it's good, it's right, we can all understand
I'll
it.
double check it as
Because we
well,
want to
sir.
look at the schools too and see, look at that.
It should be easy for you to decipher.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, progress on race and equity, educational equity. Call on Ms. Sue Larson and others.
We got a good crew tonight. Good evening once again. While Matt and his team's coming up, I wanted to brief you a little bit. As you know, we're focusing tonight on professional learning and development. That's one of our foundations of our equity plan. And in general, I wanted to give you just a brief information on what our approach is to professional learning and development with regard to equity. We really take this, it's sort of two sides to one coin approach. So on the one hand, we invest in equity-based professional learning sessions that are designed to really just be on the specific topics related to equity. So we can broaden and deepen our understanding to become more experts at the content of equity, and also to to reach our goals around understanding the specific issues around equity. So a couple examples of that would be, we have our sessions around implicit bias, directly just tackling that topic. And then what you're going to hear a little bit about tonight is our sessions are Equity Leadership Institutes. The other side of that coin is embedding topics of equity into our regular PD around instructional topics. So an example of that might be in a math workshop, we make sure that we provide instruction on linguistically and cultural appropriate pedagogy. So when teachers are learning about, say, teaching kids how to have problem-solving conversations in math, they're aware of cultural differences and of language differences, and we teach them not only to express the content, but also to be mindful of the equity work. So just keep in mind that when we do professional learning around equity, we pull out equity as a topic to learn more about it, but we also embed equity within our other educational topics as well. Now I'm going to turn it over to Matt and this fabulous team we have here tonight to talk to you about that foundation.
All right, good evening. So we have our Professional Learning and Development Foundation. One of the things that we recognize as an area as a goal area is to work on refining our metrics for this particular measure. And so we're proposing and working on metrics that are addressing the count, which is the number of trainings, and we've developed a tag. We actually developed it last year towards the tail end of last year. That was barely, just beginning to be implemented, and we're using that tag now to identify formal official trainings relating to diversity and equity, and then from that we can track attendees and percentage of folks attending, hours of professional learning. So that's a really key part in our system. And then also looking at ways that we can leverage survey that we're using right now with our Arbinger work, that is both a survey of a response to the training, but also of the impact, and thinking about ways that we can expand that to other equity and diversity professional learning offerings. So those are some of the things that we're gathering, as well as trying to gather learning artifacts from key professional or equity professional learning. As Sue Larson just mentioned, we've already a couple of key items that we've presented to all of our principals and administrators have been around implicit bias, an intensive implicit bias workshop, which then will be followed up with in their ongoing professional principal meetings, as well as most of our administrators have already received an intensive workshop around discipline, philosophy, and mindset, and what it means to be equitable in our discipline decision-making, and some key reflective questions to be asking themselves in those moments. And the rest of our administrators will get that very shortly. And so those are a couple of things we're trying to front load early in the year so that then we can follow up on and use as reflective tools with our administrators throughout the year as well. Today we're going to talk about two different avenues or core areas for actions for this year where we're providing equity-based professional learning. First is through this Equity Leadership Institute for Generation Ready, Generation Ready being one of our partner that we're using, who's developed this intensive 8-day workshop for leadership teams, which must include principal along with other staff that they deem as important members of their leadership team to roll out this, with the end goal of this workshop at the end of 8 days to do intensive reflection, and then they will create a 3-year equity plan that we will then work together to support the implementation over the next 3 years. We have 7 schools participating. And you'll see on the next slide what those schools are. And we've invited Johnny Haragi and some of his members of Casumnas Oaks as one of the participating schools to kind of represent the experience of that school. And you'll hear from later in the year some of the other schools that were participating, mostly from the Pleasant Grove region, that are also invested in this work. But to get a sense of what's happening in our Equity Leadership Institute, I'll invite up the team from Casumnas Oaks.
All right, good evening. I've also brought Lysa Munson and Kristen Smith. We are actually participants in the Equity Institute. And so, as principal of COHS, Cosumnes Oaks High School, I'm proud to share our school's efforts in the areas of equity and access. CO is in its fourth year in developing its PBIS program and equity efforts. And this year, we have a team of teachers and administrators who are participating in this Generation Ready's Equity Leadership Institute. And the goal of this Equity Institute is to build our capacity as school leaders and to develop an action plan for our school site. So CO's action plan in the beginning stages for this year includes piloting some curriculum from culturally responsive minds with the goal of making our instructional practices more inclusive of the identities and cultures of our students. Our action plan also includes, as part of the district's efforts, establishing a student equity council to provide a voice for our students and to train our students to see the world through the lens of equity and to be advocates for themselves and other students at CO. So that's the work we're currently doing. And definitely we have a lot of work to do, and I hope to have the fruits of our Equity Leadership Institute by the end of the school year. So thank you.
So you can see this is actually our second cohort that has gone through this Equity Leadership Institute. There's a list of the schools and departments that are participating. One of the things that we recognized about a year and a half ago when the cohort finished, there was not really a lot of resources or structure set up to follow up with the work and support the implementation. And so what we've established in a response to that is that we will launch, as a follow-up to this work in the spring, the Leaders in Equity Community of Practice, which will invite back both cohorts and that range of school sites to bond together and to learn together, to share insights in the implementation process together, and to get support and feedback on challenges that they're experiencing. And so we'll be launching that in the spring, and then that will continue on into the following year. So, so there'll be ongoing support in the implementation of this work. The second area that we wanted to feature and that we think is really vital, and that we are, we have already invested a lot of money in the #1 area for professional learning, which is our instructional coaches that provide that individual and small group and site-based professional learning approaches. And to share that, we've asked a handful of instructional coaches from different departments, Kathy Wilson from the Family and Community Engagement Office, Diane Stevenson, who's a PBIS coach from our Office of Behavioral Supports, and Bryn Lum, ELA instructional coach from our Curriculum and Professional Learning, to share how they are incorporating and providing equity-based professional learning in both formal ways by leading workshops, but also maybe even more importantly in informal ways through their conversations and their coaching cycles. And I think that's really important for us to see. So starting us off, I invite Ms. Kathy Wilson.
My name is Kathy Wilson, and I am your instructional coach for our Family and Community Engagement Department. I grew up in Sacramento and can say that I was economically privileged. So my world was very sheltered until I went to college, and I found out that I was going to be treated differently because I was Black. I was afforded the opportunity, as I began working in Sacramento, to work with chemically dependent women and their children, where I not only met a great mentor, but I also had experiences teaching county-approved reunification parenting classes in all of the lockup facilities in Sacramento County. There were mainly Black and brown and socioeconomically disadvantaged folks there. After this experience and working in Del Paso Heights and Oakland Unified School Districts, I realized that each and every family and child have to be first, but especially our Black children. These experiences helped me realize that it is imperative that equity and culturally and linguistically responsive practices abound among all families and staff, and I want to also include our preschool staff because a lot of times they get left out. So this is how I did it, and I continue to do what I do. By listening and talking and asking questions with my mentors, my friends from Del Paso Heights and Oakland school districts, as well as the Sacramento County Office of Education. I take vast and various experiences and professional learning opportunities that I can over these past 30 years that I have been in education. I also think about the research on equity, culturally responsive pedagogy, teaching early childhood and cultural and diversity classes for Los Rios Community College District is also what I add when I come to the table to do our professional learning, and then as well as my action research that I had for my administrative credential focused on the language, history, and culture of our African American students. I also think about the discussions that I have with my personal friends and my colleagues, families, and students, as well in Elk Grove Unified School District. So I plan to continue this work by making sure that I provide professional learning opportunities, not only for our parents that are here in Elk Grove School District, but our staff as well. And I will do that by making sure that I incorporate the sound practices that I know from my vast experience, and I will do that as your brand new family and community engagement instructional coach. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and now one of our PBIS coaches, Ms. Diane Stevenson.
Hi there, I'm Diane Stevenson, a PBIS coach for all the secondary sites. I don't know if you can hear me. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I've been in education for over 30 years doing teaching, counseling, coaching, training, and serving in administrative roles. And one of the pieces that I find most passionate is equity and really meeting the needs for the students that are most at risk. That's really where my heart kind of settles. I loved making a difference for the students and their families and serving as a PBIS coach. I have a lot of opportunity to impact the work that we're doing district-wide to try to meet the needs of all of our students through PBIS as well as doing some equity work on top of that. In my current role, I've been able to share my passion when I train our school sites. They've all been through PBIS training, so I get to have the opportunity to be in front of teams, administrators, and staff. And when I'm working out at the school sites, as I'm coaching teams, when I'm at the sites, working with admin and staff as well on the school sites. I've been able to develop an equity lens and culturally responsive practices into my coaching and workshop by sharing stories about my own experiences, hearing the experiences of others that we're working with, and also to encourage all of those that I work with to be curious about the stories and experiences of the students and families that we serve, as well as their colleagues. In trainings and workshops, I've been able to share culturally responsive classroom management strategies that help to build community in the classroom. I do some coaching with specific teachers that are asking for that extra level of support in their classrooms. I'm sharing ideas how to explicitly teach expectations that have been collaboratively created with students so that they're very much aware of what they need to do to be successful in their classrooms and on their campuses. I share how to use restorative practices that create opportunities to learn from our mistakes while affirming that everyone is a valued part of our community, including the staff, families, and students. And I share evidence-based practices that help create equitable opportunities for students and families to access the supports that they need to be successful. Another thing I'm really excited about this year is I'm doing a workshop at Harris that are 4 different workshops around equity, and it's something new that I'm doing this year, and we already had in 1 week 20 people sign up, so they're really excited to participate. I'm really excited to facilitate that this year. So I'm honored that I was asked to share. It's exciting to be part of all of this work. It's really my passion, and excited about what lies ahead for Elk Grove.
Thank you.
All right, and now Ms. Bryn Lum from our Curriculum and Professional Learning Department.
Good evening. As Matt said, my name is Bryn Lum. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a secondary English language arts instructional coach supporting Toby Johnson Middle School, James Rutter Middle School, Florin High School, and Laguna Creek High School, 4 sites. Educational equity is a passion of mine because we know, based on the data we collect every year, that we have an achievement gap that clearly indicates certain student populations, namely our Black and Brown students, our English learners, our students from low socioeconomic families, and our students with disabilities, are not being appropriately served by our current system. Supporting the adults at our school sites and understanding how inequities students experience at school directly contribute to their achievement and their life outside of school is a passion of mine, especially as I'm also an Arbinger TOT, and I've heard our superintendent say multiple times that the students don't get better unless the adults get better. I've attended many workshops myself, including a series hosted by Epic Education and participating in the Equity Leadership Academy during the 2018-2019 school year, which one of our board members was so gracious to attend. And many of these workshops focused first on understanding and reflecting upon our own biases and how to directly combat them within ourselves. This led me to my pre-service topic, where I facilitated a workshop titled Engagement Strategies for Promoting Educational Equity. This workshop focused on the EGUSD Educational Equity Strategic Plan and the Equity Framework, while embedding active participation strategies that teachers could replicate within their classrooms. I received positive feedback, including a request from an administrator who was in the room to bring some of that training to their site. All site-wide professional learning I provide addresses educational equity as a specific lens through which we must consider in order to meet the needs of all students. I'm also facilitating a book study for Robin DiAngelo's best-selling book, White Fragility, in which 15 educators from elementary and secondary sites all over the district are attending. This book is obviously of high interest, as evidenced by the full wait list that I had in ERO and email requests for hosting another round. In my coaching, I incorporate equity by ensuring that as teachers plan, they're considering how they are specifically addressing the needs of all learners in their classroom. I'm taking the knowledge that I learned from the professional development that I've attended and directly implementing the lens of equity to all that I do. When talking about the framework for high-quality instruction, I emphasize that the elements work together to increase equity and opportunity for all students. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the work that we're doing with our instructional coaches is really critical as a vehicle for this professional learning. We recognize both in these two areas. The reason that our Equity Leadership Institute is 8 days, the reason that we need instructional coaches that are on the ground day in and day out and reminding teachers is because when our system is set up to privilege some, it's very easy if you are being served by the system to not realize that there are gaps, and we need constant reminders to wake folks up and help them understand and visualize that. That's not something that happens overnight or in a 1-hour workshop. And so one commitment that we have as a district is not to do one-shot professional learning that never is followed up on. We recognize that each and every professional learning endeavor is going to be thorough, sustainable, and include follow-up and follow-through, and in order to move such a large system forward. And so that's the work that we're committing. We're grateful for our leaders in equity and many more like these folks that are carrying the torch forward. So as we look for next steps, one of the most pressing next steps is to gather all of these resources and the things that are happening in book studies, trainings that are happening actually across many different departments that relate to addressing the needs of our students in equity together in one place. And so we're working on that to create a comprehensive plan that then can be used to promote and to clarify our approach to professional learning and equity. I think it was last session or the session before when we looked at the resource website, that's a way that folks can sign up and then get mailing out. Tomorrow will be the monthly mailing reminder, which will let folks know that are subscribed to our list what professional learning is coming up in the coming month. And so the ways to continue to recruit. As several folks mentioned, though, when we do offer these trainings, they're generally very well attended, and that's helpful. Of course, we also know that there's folks that would not sign up for it, but we need to still reach them, and we're balancing that. That's why the instructional coaches who are at school sites are really powerful. In our next report in December, the focus will be on the opportunity and access, and so that'll be our focal foundation coming up. But for now, I'd like to thank our team from Cosumnes Oaks and our 3 instructional coaches for sharing their experiences, their insight, and for engaging in this difficult but important work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good reports. I guess from the board, are there any questions you'd like to, or comments?
Just a few comments. Thank you for this report. I think one of the strongest takeaways was a comment made on supporting adults, the direct correlation to student success. I couldn't agree more. So I think the more we invest in this, the better the outcomes for our students. And then selfishly, love the work that's happening at Cosumnes Oaks. As a Cosumnes Oaks mother, the timing is just so perfect right now with a culturally responsive minds, and particularly the Student Equity Council. Very excited about that and seeing how that develops over the year. So thank you all for your great leadership.
I would like to echo those comments. Thank you for the leadership and also the stories that you shared. I think for me, what resonated was that this is hard work, and understanding that sometimes our students of color are needing that extra support at times because of the data that's out there regarding certain populations. And so I really applaud you for that work and passing on that torch. And I also say, you're not alone out there. And again, it's bringing everybody to the table and having an intention, because sometimes with implicit bias training, right, or equity work, it could be the hot topic at the moment, but being intentful about making a lasting process that will be here regardless of just this moment and future generations coming forth. And I think, this is a movement that I'm very happy as well to see this work in the district take on. And later on, I'm going to bring to the board the implicit bias training that I went to for California School Board Association, but how important that training was, because it talked about race, it talked about discrimination, it talked about all these topics head on, and the presenter was awesome. So I'm going to bring that as a later on agenda announcement to make. But again, I applaud you for the work you're doing. Sometimes this work is done in silos. And so, and it's not always portrayed out there what is being done. So I'm so thankful to see that and hear that information at the site.
Again, thank you for coming tonight and presenting to us and sharing the good work you're doing out there. I appreciate it. My fellow board members have said most of the things I would say. I had one quick question. Do we have a plan for cohort number 3?
Not yet.
Okay.
But the idea is part of our reflection when we pull both cohorts together will be to say, was this valuable? Is this what we want to do, or do we need to change? So that'll be a discussion in conjunction with all of the folks, the leaders that have participated, to see if we should launch a 3rd cohort in the coming year.
Okay, I think one of the biggest things I've learned about equity in the time I've spent is that it is not a single subject, and I appreciate how we are not treating it as an additional thing, yet an infusion into all the things we do. And I think that's the biggest point you have to make, is that we aren't responsible to be, we don't need to be culturally sensitive to a child for 10 minutes a day. We need to live that. It can't be a subject in a schedule. It needs to be a way of life, of accepting and finding ways to help those students. So I appreciate the effort across the board.
And I'll say that it extends beyond the classroom, right? It's a way that we see the world.
First, what she said, but Also, gosh, it's hard for me to organize my thoughts because we're in such an interesting place, right, where there's so much great work that's happening, but I still feel like we are just at the beginning, right? I mean, our Race and Equity Action Plan is now years in the making, right? At least since we started the process, it's been a few years. We're not, unfortunately, to the point where we're starting to see those metrics and the experience of particular students of color change dramatically. But I'm encouraged. I'm thankful, to hear about the work that you guys are doing, and thank you so much for being here to share it with us. Beth said something about, you just triggered my memory about making those connections. Oh, and this work not being siloed. So your next report is on opportunity and access, and that's a lot of what we just covered in the LCAP. So I would love it if you guys could kind of address the gaps we see there, which are really sobering.
Yeah.
And the more you can kind of explain to us what can be done, what you can do out there to really close those gaps, we'd appreciate it.
Mr. Fortune?
Thank you. Matt, if we go to slide 5. You look at cohort 2. How were those sites and programs selected? And here's why I asked the question, the primary reason. 3 of the 7 are located in trustee area 7, and 2 of the 7 are within the attendance area of trustee area 7, but are overseen by another board member. So in a sense, 5 of the 7 are within basically one trustee area. So how were they chosen?
So the invite went out to all schools. The Pleasant Grove region had been meeting regularly as a region, and 2 of the school principals were really gung-ho about joining, and they kind of helped to recruit several other of their regional teams. And if you look at Pleasant Grove High School, had been in the first cohort, and so that kind of sponsored an idea of a regional movement. Cosumnes Oaks, actually, because Pinkerton has also participated in previously, now is starting to build a regional kind of lens of shared understanding as well. And I think that's the direction that we want to push, is the biggest shifts we can make when we have a full region in alignment.
So you're looking at interest first.
Yeah. I will say that there's also encouragement. It's a huge commitment, but there is awareness and support from at the district level as well, from our school directors, from our department staff as well.
The question was asked about cohort 3, and you said you hadn't looked at that yet. And I understand fully that this is a time commitment issue, but I would imagine it's going to take a number of years to get all 67 school sites plus district office functions on the same page.
And I'll say that there's a commitment to provide this support regardless, just whether it's in this same format is something that we would be considering. Regardless, there will be some support for all of our site administrators going into the coming years.
Okay. And in cohort 2, it says visual and performing arts. Do I assume that is the new VAPA director?
Yes.
And she brings a lot of resources with her, so that's absolutely wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Okay, my colleagues have covered a lot. I'm very encouraged too on the report, and I want to thank you all for staying here this late and
closing the house down.
Right, and presenting to us. I just want to follow up with the PBIS and the curriculum professional, where some of our most challenging schools are failing right now, and they're not doing very well. And for me, I'm looking forward to what was presented tonight, how we tackle our most challenging schools. The figures are out there, speaks for itself. And as Ms. Albayani indicated, it's got to be a way of life. And I've had many conversations with the superintendent, he and I, and if we can move some of those schools up 4, 5, 6%, it's going to make this district even look like they're champions heading in the right direction. So, with that, the PBIS and suspensions of kids of color, the disproportionality, particularly at the elementary schools as well, that's what I'm looking forward to see the improvements on. So it's very important. So I am encouraged by it. So thank you for the report tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, if we can take a quick photo to close out.
Yeah, we got one. I have one blue card, Miss Lorraine
Oh, yeah,
Pryor.
sure.
You want to come up?
And thanks to our community members that stayed till the end as well. We appreciate that.
So I'm actually excited by what I heard about your coaches. I like that. I like that a lot. And I'm glad that you came as a diverse group to kind of call attention to some of the things that need to be really looked at. Because every time I come here, I talk about that big pink elephant in the corner of the room, that one called racism, that we have yet to address adequately. That's what I want to see more of. As far as belongingness, so what I'm noticing in this district is that you have something called black flight of your top admin. So you have black administrators who are finding that their talents aren't being utilized effectively here, and they're opting to go elsewhere. And so when you don't have the representation, and then you don't have the teachers as representation, there's a gap in connectedness. When you have connectedness, you have kids who are not paying attention in the classroom, and that leads to them getting in trouble. That will explain your suspension and expulsion rates. So what I would like to know, since I know that you all made some hires recently, what I am asking on, or what I'm asking for, is I'd like to see the data of your white teachers versus all the other groups of teachers that you have. What is the disaggregated data of your teaching force? I want to know about the specific hires you've recently hired. What is the disaggregated data of those you recently hired? What I'm seeing is that when you have top admin in certain places, they don't feel like they belong here either. So if attitude reflects leadership, and the leadership is bailing, what do you think black families in this district are looking to do? As a parent in this district, it is unacceptable to me that we have high-level administration, are black admin principals not applying for district office jobs? Is that what people are trying to explain to me? That there are no qualified black teachers or administrators that can step into some of these roles that need filling? Because I'm starting to feel like I'm coming here week after week and that it's falling on deaf ears. What we as a community and I as a parent expect to see in this district are that my concerns are addressed. I'm starting to feel like this district does not like black people. They expect them to only be in a certain place. And so what I'm asking for is that you make that information available to your public. I want to know who's teaching my kids. I want to know who's in the cabinet area. I want to know everything, and I'm expecting that. And when we talk about implicit bias, I think it's about time we did a step further and talk about explicit bias, because some of this stuff isn't implicit anymore. It's just outright in your face, and I expect that addressed. Thank you.
Okay, are there any bargaining units who'd like to speak? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's get the picture then. I'm moving too quick. Photos. Okay, thank you once again. Okay, the bargaining units, I didn't want to overlook you guys down there. Thank you. None? Okay, call on board members' report. Go ahead, Mr. Fortuna. Committees only?
Committees only. And week ago, Chet and I, or 2 weeks ago, we attended the Rancho Cordova 2x2. And I had made comments after the Elk Grove 2x2 with respect to the comfortable working relationship with Elk Grove, but I have to say that Rancho Cordova is really stellar in its work with this school district and what it wants to provide, and so it was a worthwhile meeting. We got to talk about a number of topics, but certainly the favorite, which is always on the agenda, which is middle school and high school.
Yep.
Yeah. And the city of Rancho Cordova is poised to explode with housing. And if the market stays the way it is, and then the reality will be sooner than later. So, but it was very good.
Well said. Yeah, it's a good meeting, and it's kind of scary what they have on the charts moving forward. Anyone else? Committees? Okay. Chris, did you want to make any comment?
I did just want to make one comment with relation to the passing of Tom Pinkerton, Elizabeth Pinkerton's husband. Obviously, the Pinkerton family is a huge advocate for the school district and for the community, and I just wanted to make sure I made a note of that. So,
thank you. Yeah, and I was going to bring that up on other items on the floor. Go ahead, Ms. Fortina, you can speak for us. We were there.
At the, yeah. No, you do that one. I have two others. You do that one.
Okay, on Sunday, I think everybody knows we were Sunday. We were received our 60-year anniversary and a trophy. I guess I haven't seen it down in.
it's in the suit office right now. We're showing it off upstairs. You walked right by it.
Did I? Wow. Okay. Yeah, I was holding that. I didn't notice that. I guess, but eventually we'll put it down here. Okay, good. Very nice trophy, and it was an honor just to be there. Of course, it was saddened that Mrs. Pinkerton had the death of her husband there, so our condolences went out to her. But it was very nice, and nice to see 60 years. I was here when we had the 50-year. That we have some names out by the flagpole out there that we had when we celebrated our 50 years there, so it was very nice. Any other items on the floor that Ms. Singhal?
Just two things. One is for information. Is it possible to get whatever resources or information that we share with our students and parents as it relates to vaping? I've been hearing more and more from different students and parents about vaping, that it's really growing, and there's just seems to be a very nonchalant social acceptance of that it's just there, and they don't really understand the dangers associated with it. So I would be curious to know what information we have currently available that we share and what regularity, because some of the reports I'm hearing directly from kids is alarming. So without naming any sites or anything like that, it's crossover. It's not just one site, it's several sites. But from what I'm hearing, it's a pretty significant issue, and I think that we have an obligation to educate our students on those dangers, just like we have on other issues. So whatever resources that we have been sharing, I'd like just to sort of do an inventory check and then assess what else we can be doing. And then secondly, I just wanted to thank publicly Shari Wilson for serving as my finance committee representative. She did turn in her resignation because of death in her family and just being overextended. So I will be appointing somebody new, hopefully by the next, meeting. That's all I have.
Dr. Leary Martinez?
I just had an update about the implicit bias training from California School Board Association. So the Board of Directors received a training on that from Dr. Bryant Marks, and he gave a lot of in-depth information. Was the whole time the training was from 10 to 5. Very captivating the whole entire time, with a room of school district members and trustees from all over the region. And I know he serves from the National Institute of Race and Equity. And so his research work, he said he'll be spending some times out more on the West Coast because he's from the East Coast. But his team you can reach out to if you want to do half-day trainings or full day. But as a leader, the perspective he brought, just the information to us, for myself, it was an eye-opener in ways that I can even go home and do homework on things that maybe I may not even be aware of certain biases. And he had us take an aptitude test. It was an implicit association test, and you can take one for each group and do that on your own time to find out your score, which I thought was really interesting too. So he had a wealth of knowledge. He's trained police departments. He's gone out to a number of school districts, so he's known all over for his work. So I definitely wanted to bring that information back because he was a phenomenal speaker. Also, I wanted just to give an update. I know most of you received the board communication on the Native American suspension article on the SEAL website. So I just wanted to make sure everybody seen that, is out there, shared that with my board colleagues, that information. And I wanted to also extend a thank you to the superintendent for attending the California Indian Day down at the state capitol. I heard a lot of positive feedback from elders. You got to meet a few tribal leaders, specifically in the region here from Wilton Rancheria. And the tribal chairman and vice chair wanted to come out tonight to support the heritage resolution, but they're looking forward to coming out to a future board meeting to speak and give some resource information on their tribe. So looking forward to that.
Great to meet the vice chair because he was a former football player. So he turned around and looked at me. I looked at him, I go, Trejo. And he's like, Coach Hoffman. So yeah, so it was a small world.
Yes. And so they're doing a lot of great work out there in the community. They're also going to be coming out to Cosumnes River College soon, where we'll be having the Native American Heritage Week in November. And so we have some great keynotes lined up to speak on our week and our Native Days, and we'll have a full day of dancers and ceremony. So I'll bring that back for a future update to the board. I also was able to attend Explore and Map Your Future event out at Outgrove Pavilion, and that was really a wonderful gathering. Learned a lot of great information and seen some of Miss Albiani's children out there, agriculture, the A department, so FFA. So a lot of great things showcased, specifically Valley High School, their program, Cosumnes Oaks, Laguna Creek. So very well put together event. A lot of the families and children were in attendance. So I just wanted to make sure to mention that as well. So thank you.
Ms. Albiani? Mr. Fortina?
Yeah, two quick ones. First of all, I don't know who was responsible, but
I'll let you know in a minute.
There's a change this year, and it's indicative of the fact that the district listens and the district cares. And for my colleagues, on the back of all the student ID cards this year is suicide information, which is a really positive step. And that, along with the training that staff is receiving, I would hope would really make a difference in terms of helping students understand that if they have problems, they need to talk to someone, and that people are ready to listen, and that staff is aware of signs that sometimes we miss. So I think that was really very, very positive.
That's a state law, that's statewide.
Is that really?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah. It's a good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Secondly, you know, when Mark was talking, I talked about the fact that in my visitations, principals have talked about LCAP. But beyond LCAP, the one thing that every single principal talks about initially is safety. Our people are committed to ensuring that we have safe environments for our students. And the attitudes of the principals that I've seen in the last couple months is that it's important for the students to understand that no matter what's happening outside of the gate isn't going to happen inside the gate, and that it's a place that they can feel safe, where they can learn, and where there are people who care. And that's a message that I get out there. It's a shame that message doesn't necessarily is not necessarily heard by everyone, but it makes me really happy and really proud to be part of this district when I hear that information coming unsolicited. So just wanted to share that.
Okay, with that, just one other comment I want to make to my colleagues, that the CSBA has a workshop course on the Brown Act, I think over in Santa Rosa. So if anybody wishes to go over, they can get the particulars from CSBA. I think it's this month, end of this month. I forget the date that they have it.
I know they offer that regularly, like a couple of times a year in
Yeah.
different locations. I think they might have one in conjunction with the annual conference as well. So you could go like a day before and do that training, something
Okay.
like that.
So it's good to know if put that information out, because sometimes we all can use information on that, and then we talk about items not on the agenda and things like that, and we violate. So, okay, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting close to 2100 hours. Thank you.